Welcome students. In today's session we will be doing unit 2 and in that part 2. So we move on to anti-colonial movements and decolonization processes in Asia. So we've already known what is anti-colonial. Anti-colonial is setting up colonies. So people who oppose that are called as anti-colonial movements. So there were countries which did not want colonialism to happen. So that's what we are going to learn in this process. First one is French Indochina. French Indochina means French means France, Indochina. So that is a link we are going to learn about. Rise of anti-colonialism. So we are going to read how it rose. That is, why did people start opposing colonialism? That's what we are going to learn. Indochina, that is today's Cambodia, Laos and Vietnam. So Indochina is a combination of Cambodia, Laos and Vietnam, had shown its discontent right from the beginning of the French occupation in 1887. So now what here happens is, these three places were occupied, they were colonized by the French, that is France, in which year? In 1887. Right from that time they didn't want that, they were opposing it. While the Indo-Chinese resisted the imposition of French language and culture. So what happened is, France, when it went and colonized Indochina, what happened is they tried to impose, they tried to put in French language and their culture, but from the beginning they were resisting it, they were opposing it. Who was opposing it? The Indo-Chinese were opposing it. They learned from them the ideas of revolution. So Indochina or Indo-Chinese, these people, they learned how to revolt, how to oppose from France. During the First World War, about 1 lakh Indo-Chinese fought in France and returned with first-hand knowledge of how the French had fought and suffered during the war. So what happened is, during the First World War, about 1 lakh Indo-Chinese people, that is people from Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, they went and participated in the First World War, and they saw how France was able to fight and how France suffered during the war. So they had a knowledge about that. Communist ideas from mainland China. So you know that China was a communist country. So their ideas were also a major influence. So these Cambodia, Laos and Vietnam, they were influenced, they were affected by the communist ideas of China. Many people became convinced that the considerable wealth of Indochina was benefiting only the colonial power. So what happened is, people began to feel that the Indochina, the wealth of Indochina was the wealth that the Indo-Chinese people had, was only giving benefits to the colonial powers. Who is the colonial power? France. Next we learn as decolonization. So we know what is colonization. Colonization is setting up colonies. Decolonization is removing of those colonies. So it is a process through which the colonial powers transferred institutional and legal control over their colonies to the indigenous. Indigenous means native nationalist governments. So what is colonialism? Just now saw. What is decolonialization? That means the colonizing countries, they took away their power and gave it to the native, the original country itself, to the original country or to the original government itself. The emergence of Viet Minh. So he's a very known person, it's a system, so and we are going to learn about that. The mainstream political party in Indochina. So who was the most important major political party in Indochina? Was the Vietnam Nationalist Party. So we can remember this. Who is the major political party in Indochina? Vietnam Nationalist Party. Formed in 1927, it was composed of means made up of wealthy and middle class sections of the population. So this party, it was a group where they had lot of wealthy people and middle class people also were there in that party. In 1929, the Vietnamese soldiers mutinied. So mutinied is they came for a fight, or they form a group, okay, and rebelled. So another word is rebel. So these people, the Vietnamese soldiers, they rebelled, and there was a failed attempt to assassinate the French governor general. So they were trying to assassinate means kill the French governor general. Because why they wanted to kill the French governor general? Because they were colonized by French, so they wanted to kill that governor general. So this was followed by a large scale peasant revolt led by the communists. But when they tried to kill it, the attempt, they made an attempt which failed. So when it failed, what happened is a large number of peasants, peasant means farmers, they revolted, they opposed the act, action led by the communists. So these peasants, these farmers were guided by the communists. The revolt was crushed, followed by what is called White Terror. So how did the revolt end? It was crushed, it was broken down, and that is known as White Terror, because thousands of rebels, so people who opposed, rebels are nothing but opposing certain act with fight and all that. So they were, thousands of rebel people were killed. After the White Terror, Ho Chi Minh, so this is a major person, a very important person, and we are going to learn about that person on top. Ho Chi Minh, born in 1890 to 1969, he was born in Tonkin. When Ho Chi Minh was 21, he went to Europe. So when he was just 21 years old, he went to Europe. After working as a cook in a London hotel, he went to Paris. In the Paris Peace Conference, he lobbied for the independence for Vietnam. So we already learnt about this Paris Peace Conference, which took place in World War I. What he did was he fought for the independence of Vietnam. His articles in newspapers and especially the pamphlets. So he wrote lot of articles in newspapers, and his pamphlet is small pieces of paper, French colonialism on trial. He wrote a pamphlet based on what topic? French colonialism on trial. Made him well known as a Vietnam nationalist. So because of that, he became very, very popular. In 1921, he became a founder member of the French Communist Party. So in 1921, he became the founder of the French Communist Party. 2 years later, he went to Moscow and learnt revolutionary techniques. Techniques is ideas, the way by which you should react. So he learnt how to revolt, how to oppose. That is what he learnt. In 1925, he founded the Revolutionary Youth Movement. So this is all about Ho Chi Minh, who is a Vietnam person. He fought for the independence of Vietnam. After the White Terror, so this is an important question, children. White Terror. What you have to keep in mind here is they were trying to kill the Governor General, French Governor General, which failed. So the peasants, they revolted against this by who was leading that revolt, the communist, and it was crushed, and that is why it is called as a White Terror. How many of them were killed? Nearly thousands of rebels were killed. After the White Terror, Ho Chi Minh left for Moscow and spent the 1930s in Moscow and China. So immediately he left Vietnam and he went to Moscow and China. When France was defeated by Germany in 1940, Ho Chi Minh and his lieutenants are soldiers, used this turn of events to advance the Vietnamese cause. So while France was defeated, now remember, Vietnam was colonized by French. Now when French was defeated because of Germany, they tried Ho Chi Minh and his group people, they wanted to take this as a chance to hit back on France. And crossing over the border into Vietnam in January 1941. So they crossed the border and they went into it in 1941. They organized the League. League means group for the independence of Vietnam, which is called as Viet Minh. So that group where they fought for independence is called as Viet Minh. This gave renewed emphasis to a distinct Vietnamese nationalism. So they were trying to renew, means making new things, so that they can emphasize on creating nationalism. Now the next very important part is decolonization of India in India. So here we know that we were colonized by the British people. So how the colonies here in India were broken out and they were removed is what we are going to learn. Diarchy in provinces. Diarchy, di means two. So diarchy means there was like a dual system of ruling in provinces. That's what we learn it as diarchy. The decolonization process started in India from the beginning of the 20th century with the launch of the Swadeshi movement in 1905. So, when did this movement start, decolonization? When did people in India feel that British should go away from our country? It's around about 1905 when they started the Swadeshi movement. The outbreak of the First World War brought about rapid political as well as economic changes. So when the World War I broke out in what happened in India, there was a lot of rapid, means very immediate political changes also took place, economic money changes also took place. In 1919, the Government of India Act introduced diarchy. So in 1919, the Government of India, they are introducing an act by which there was diarchy. Diarchy means two, that provided for elected provisional assembly. So they wanted people to elect and choose leaders, as well as for Indian ministers to hold certain portfolios. There were two things. One is the provinces should have elected groups, and second one is those Indian ministers should have certain duties. Portfolios means duties under transferred subjects. The Indian National Congress at that time, the party at that time, the Indian National Congress rejected, they opposed diarchy and decided to boycott. Boycott means just move away, leave the legislature. Legislature means law. Okay, who was rejecting it? The Indian National Congress. Lack of measures to industrialize India. So you know, when a country has got a lot of industries, there is a lot of growth happening, but here there was lack. There not much was given for industries. Despite the discriminating protection given to certain select industries such as sugar, cement and chemicals. So what happened here, here in India, protection to industries, selected industries was given like sugar, cement and chemicals. There was no change in the colonial economic policy, but there was no change in the colonial policy. But in the case of indigenous industries, indigenous again native industries, the original industries, support was only in the form of providing technical advice and education. So what happened here was for the original industries that were already in India, what was given was technical advice and education was given, and the establishment of pioneer factories in new industries. However, even this policy was soon abandoned. Abandoned means left out, as many British enterprises, that is British companies, were opposed to this. Impact of depression on Indian agriculture. This again is a very important topic. We have learnt about depression in the first part of this unit. So what consequence or what result did that bring in Indian agriculture is what we are going to learn. The Great Depression also dealt a death blow to Indian agriculture. So the word, the Great Depression, which we learnt in the previous part, gave a death blow to Indian culture. That means Indian culture was totally boycotted, it was totally smashed. And the indigenous manufacturing sector. So, two things were affected because of that Great Depression. One was agriculture and the other one is the manufacturing sector. The value of farm produce declined. So, whatever we were producing from the farm, that produce, that was declining by half. So, if we were producing 100 bags of rice, now they were able to only produce 50 bags of rice. Whereas the land rent to be paid by the peasant is the farmer, remained unchanged. They were getting less, but they had to pay their rent more. So, what happened in terms of prices of agricultural commodities are things, okay? The obligation of the farmers to the state doubled. So, what happened is they were not able to sell their goods for a proper rate because their production was very less. So, they started to obligate to the state. That also doubled. The great fall in prices prompted Indian nationalists to demand protection for the internal economy. So, what happened is there was sudden drop in the price, and what happened is people here in India, they said we must protect the internal economy. Economy is money. Okay, so we cannot do much of export and all that. The 1930s saw the emergence of the Indian National Congress as a militant mass movement. So, now what happened is they had to protest for this. So, the Indian National Congress, it served as a militant by force as a movement. Government of India Act 1935. The British had to appease means they had to satisfy the Indian nationalist, nationalist means people of the same nation, and the outcome was of the passage of the Government of India Act 1935. So, the British had to satisfy the Indian people. So, what happened is they passed out a law which is called as the Government of Indian Act of 1935. This provided, so what did the Britain give India? Greater power to the local government. So, they gave lot of power to the local governments, and the introduction of direct election. So, two powers they gave. One is they gave lot of power to the government, and they introduced what is called as direct elections. In the 1937 election, the Congress won a resounding victory. So, Congress was able to take a victory there in most of the provinces. Now, what we call districts or states like that, those days it was called as provinces. However, the decision of Britain to involve India in the Second World War without consulting the popular Congress ministry. So, what happened here is Britain was in the idea of making India to participate in the Second World War. They did not consult with the party, which is the Congress party, and this forced the latter to resign. So, latter means the Congress to resign from the office. Okay, so that was one of the reasons. Anti-colonial movements in Africa. So far we learnt one in Indochina, the other one was in India, what happened, but now what was the situation in Africa is what we are going to learn. Colonization of Africa. We have already learnt this. Africa, not all parts of Africa were colonized, only a few parts, because Africa was not known to the world for a long time. The African coastline has been explored in the 16th century. So, people came and they found out African coastline nearly in which century? 16th century. And few European settlements had come out. So, Europe people, they came there and settled there in the 16th century. But the interior of Africa, Africa was unknown to the outside world until the last quarter of 19th century. So, uh, whereas the interior parts of Africa was not known to the outside world up to which century? 19th century, last quarter of the 19th century. European colonization. So we already know Africa was colonized by the European. So European colonization began after about 1875. The Berlin Colonial Conference of 1884 to 85, this is very important, resolved that Africa should be divided into spheres of influence of various colonial powers. So there was a conference called as Berlin Colonial Conference, which said that Africa should be divided into different parts, and different parts must be ruled by different countries or colonized by different countries. The war between the British and the Boers in South Africa, however, was of defiance of this resolution. So here there was a war between two people, British, the other one is Boers. Boers are Dutch people who came to settle there in South Africa. So there was a lot of opposition for this resolution. Resolution is agreement. Okay. So the next one is Boers War. So you must remember, Boer means Dutch people settled there. Okay. The relations between the two British colonies, there were two British colonies there. One is Natal and Cape Colony, and two independent Boer states. So Dutch, they had two different states there. One is Transvaal and the Orange Free State had long been unfriendly. So they were not friendly at all. Okay, two British colonies and two Boer states. These people were not unfriendly. The discovery of gold. So they discovered gold in Transvaal in 1886, and this led to large number of British miners settling in and around Johannesburg. So what happened is, in Transvaal, when they discovered gold, people from British people, miners means people who do the soil work, they mine the ground and all that, they started to settle around in Johannesburg. The Boers, though Boers are Dutch people, they hated these people whom they referred as Uitlanders, which means foreigners. So they did not like them because they were foreigners. The Boers taxed them heavily apart from denying political rights. So what did the Boers do? They taxed those people, they put lot of duty, tax payment and all that, and they did not give them any political rights. Remember who came there? British was there. So the question was whether the British or the Boers were to be supreme in South Africa. So here what problem came in? Who is supreme, important in South Africa? Is it the British people there or the Dutch people? Fearing attacks from the British, the Boers armed themselves and decided to attack. So as usual, Britain, they started to attack, and Boers also, they started to attack them. The Boer War lasted for 3 years. So how long did the war go for? For 3 years, from 1899 to 1902. Initially the Boers were successful. So at the beginning they were successful. But by the first half of 1900, the Boer army was defeated. So initially they were successful, later part they were not successful, they were defeated. Pretoria was occupied. This is a part where it was occupied by the British now. The Boers took to guerrilla fighting. This continued for about 2 years. So they took up to fighting, and this lasted, this kind of a fight, which guerrilla fight lasted for 2 years. In retaliation, so when they fought, you have to oppose, retaliate is to oppose. The British destroyed farms and crops. So what did the British do? They destroyed the crops and farms of the Dutch people. They set up internment camps for Boer women and children. Shortage of food, medical, sanitary facilities caused the death of 26,000 people. So because of this fight, they had shortage of food, medical facilities were not there, sanitary facilities were not there. The British annexed the two Boer states. Remember, two Boer states the Boer people had, they were able to annex it. Boers were, however, promised self-government in due course. So, but what happened is British, they promised that the Boers will have their own government after a while. In 1907, full responsible government was given to Transvaal and the Orange Free State. What are these two? These two are Boer states. Okay, so they, as said, the British gave them full government rule. The four states formed into a union. So now the British two and the Dutch people, two states, they formed a union, and South Africa Act passed by the British Parliament in 1909 provided for a union parliament at Cape Town. So they had a union and they had a union parliament which was at Cape Town. The Union of South Africa came into being in May 1910. The descendants of original Dutch settlers of South Africa, also known as Afrikaners, were called Boers. So this is a small information about Boers. They were descendants, they are people who moved from Dutch or Dutch settlers. Nationalist politics in South Africa. So what was the politics party in South Africa? There were two main political parties. First one is Unionist Party, which was mainly British. So the party, Unionist Party, was British people, and the South African Party, which had largely Afrikaners. Afrikaners are nothing but Boers. The first Prime Minister, Botha, belonged to the South African Party. So who was the first Prime Minister at that time? Botha. He belonged to the Boers. Okay. Ruled in cooperation, but he ruled South Africa in cooperation with the British. Okay. But a militant section of the South African Party. Now South African Party, there were two groups. One was a little soft cornered people. The other part of the people were militant, forceful people. Now a militant section of that South African Party, they separated and they formed a national party under Herzog. So three parties now totally. In the 1920 elections, the National Party, which is the National Party, the militant party, they gained 44 seats. The South African Party, now led by Smuts. Smuts is this man who you can see here. So now he was ruling the National Party, the South African Party. He secured 41 seats. They secured 44, he secured 41. At this juncture, the British dominated Unionist Party merged. So what happened now is two parties are getting merged. The British dominated, what is the British dominated party called? The Unionist Party. It merged with the South African Party. Who is the leader for the South African Party? That is the Prime Minister. You remember the soft cornered people. They both merged. This gave Smuts a majority over the militant Afrikaners. So now, because these two joined, they were able to they formed a majority against whom? Against the militant Afrikaners. Okay, that group, and controlled National Party. Racist policy against the blacks. Now racism those days, as you know, white and black problem was there. We call it as racism in terms of color. Okay, the Afrikaners pursued pursued means they took to a harsher racist policy towards the blacks. So Afrikaners are Dutch people, probably white people. They took to the policy of racist policy, where they fought for the blacks and the minority Indians. There were a few Indians in South Africa, so they fought against them. In 1923, an act was passed to confine the native residents to certain parts of town. So what happened is, in 1923, there was a law wherein the original people of that South Africa, they were given certain part of the town. Already an act of 1913 had segregated black and white farmers. So already there was another law which came in 1913 by which black and white farmers were separated, which made it impossible for the blacks to acquire land in most parts of the country. So because of that law, the black farmers, they were not able to get lands in many parts of the country, South Africa. In 1924, elections were won by the National Party with the support of the labor movement, composed mainly of white miners. So in 1924 election, who won? The National Party won. National Party is the militant party which won, getting the support of the labor movement. And who was there in that labor movement? They were mostly white people. Okay. So the act passed in 1924 prevented blacks from striking work and from joining trade unions. So this is another act which came in 1924, and what did this law do? It blocked black people from striking, opposing any kind of work, or they were not allowed to do any kind of trade unions. In the Cape province, the voting right to black was abolished. So in the Cape Town province, what happened is black were not given right to vote. Native blacks, that is the original black people of South America, suffered in all the spheres at all levels, social, economic and politics. Next one is apartheid in South Africa. This is very important. Apartheid is a system where white people and black people are separated, is called apartheid. Apartheid, which means separateness, who separated white and the black, became the racial policy of the Nationalist Party in 1947. From 1950 onwards, a series of laws came to be enforced. So from 1950, there was a lot of laws that came in South Africa. The whole country was divided into separate areas for different races. So what happened is, South Africa was divided into small areas, and some areas only whites were allowed to live, some areas only blacks were allowed. So all this confusion was there. Marriage between white and non-white, that's black, were forbidden, were not allowed. Nearly all schools were brought under government control so that education different from that of the whites could be implemented for Africans. So why education was under government control? So that they thought black should be taught in their own way, not in the way of the whites. University education was also segregated was split. Apartheid is based on the belief. So what is that apartheid belief? That the political equality of white and black in South Africa would mean black rule. So what did apartheid means? They had white and blacks, they had political equality, but whose rule was supposed to be there? Black rule. The ANC, that is the African National Congress. Okay, the ANC is African National Congress, which fought the practice of racism, was banned. So this was a group which fought for power, and they were banned, stopped. And its leader, who is the leader of this African National Congress? Nelson Mandela, this black man, very famous man, was put behind bars. So he was put in jail. Mounting pressure at the global level helped to end the racist regime in South Africa. So there's a lot of pressure from the world, and so what happened is this came to an end. In 1990, the ban on ANC is again African National Congress, was taken off, and Mandela was freed after how many years? 27 years he was in jail because he fought for this. In the elections held subsequently after this, the Africans were allowed to vote, and ANC won the election, and Mandela became the first black president of South Africa. Even though apartheid was dismantled means was like pulled out and into pieces, the whites completely dominated the economic sphere. So though it was apartheid was broken, like black and whites are not different, but still what was still dominating? White people were dominating the money, economic sphere. So go through this lesson, children.